Ooh. What do you have to say to the people? That's it? Yes. Say hi. All right. Welcome back, everybody. If you're new here, welcome for the first time. It's been a while. I've lost some weight, gotten quite a bit stronger, and there's a lot to show you, so let's get into it. All right, so first things first. At the beginning of 2025, I started a huge body weight cut down to 231. I started the year around 275, and I cut all 40 of those pounds in the first 8 months, 7 or 8 months. So that was a big thing for me. And I was really nervous that I was going to lose a lot of my strength that I had taken almost 2 years at this point to build up to. Little did I know, getting healthier by losing all that weight did way more for me than having the weight ever did. So I, since then, have deadlifted 525. I hit a log PR of 235 and a squat PR of 410. So since that 105 show that I did back in November, my first ever 105 show, I have gotten stronger than I've ever been in my entire life. Hitting some lifetime PRs off of this weight cut has really encouraged me to stick to being a 105 for a while until maybe not getting a pro card per se, but at least doing some more than I thought I was going to be able to as a 105 because I never really wanted to lose the weight in the first place. I thought that being bigger was going to keep me being stronger, but thanks to the help of quite a few people who know a lot better than me, I was able to get stronger on the cut than I was at that heavier weight. So what we're going to do today is go over some of those really important lifts to me recently and kind of break down what I had to change and what made me better between when I first started learning those lifts versus where I am now, what I've learned, what I would have done differently, and just kind of an overview of how I've improved and maybe some notes that you can take with you into your next session. And so without further ado, let's head into the film room and take a look. All right, so the first lift we're going to take a look at today is going to be my 525-pound deadlift PR from the River City Strongman Games, my first ever show as a 105. And I'm really proud of this lift particularly because my deadlift was kind of stuck for quite a while. And so there were a few things that I really needed to tighten up from my technique before and during the prep for this competition that I really kind of hit on the head in competition. Even though I was very nervous beforehand, all my warm-ups felt really heavy for this lift because I was just really afraid of whether or not I was going to be able to hit this. Because it was supposed to be a medley where you go back and forth between a 525-pound deadlift bar and a 550-pound trap bar. And I was not sure I was even going to be able to hit the deadlift bar. But taking a look at this lift, it was a very strong and very solid lift throughout. So the biggest thing for me was that I really needed to make sure that my starting position was very strong because I had a tendency before this to let the bar get away from me really bad. So I didn't have the tightness in my lats that I needed coming into this prep that we really kind of hammered throughout the preparation for this lift specifically, because we put most of our eggs into this basket because there was kind of like a 50-50 chance if I was going to be able to get the 550 trap bar. So we decided to stick with the deadlift bar, get that one first, make sure we get some points, which ended up only being 1 point, unfortunately. But super proud of this lift. This was a 15-pound PR, I think, or it might have been 10 pounds because I think I did 515 in preparation for this. But looking at the lift, there's a really good narrow starting position here, And what I needed to focus on was making sure that I didn't let my hips come too low, because when I get really afraid of a lift, I want to like squat really deep into it for some reason. I don't know why I started doing that, but it was a bad habit that I had to kick. So making sure that my hips stayed high enough to actually initiate the drive from my posterior chain was a big thing for this one. And so I managed to execute all the way throughout. Like I said, a little bit slow because it was a max all out attempt, but I got the down call. I was fine. I went on to try to do the trap bar, but it wasn't going to go because I would use so much effort on the first lift. But yeah, overall, really solid. Like I said, making sure that my lats were tight. You'll see that I focused really hard on twisting my arms in, making sure not to bend them as much as possible, but squeezing my arms in to make sure my lats were tight, and it popped right off the floor. Everything moved smoothly, and I got the lift. So after this one is a huge mental victory for me in the fact that I got a log PR. The thing for me with log press, before this little block of training, I hadn't touched log for a very long time. In the time since, I had push pressed 250 pounds plus a bunch of times, right? Even on the axle, I got up to doubles at 245. So I couldn't quite figure out where the disconnect was on log, because on log, I could barely do 215 or 220. And it felt like I was banging my head against a wall trying to figure out this lift. And then one day it just kind of clicked to me that for some reason I wasn't standing up straight into the log. So when you watch anyone who's really, really good at the log, what they're doing is they're minimizing the lean back in the rack position. So if you watch some of my older videos, you'll be able to see that my rack position on the log was very leaned back, and it was very, very disadvantageous to being able to get the leg drive into it. So I figured out just randomly in one of my training sessions that keeping my lats tight as well as my shoulder or my elbows up in combination with standing tall is the cue that I started to use for my log, actually allowed me to connect my leg drive in my normal push press to the log. So combining all those elements together, I ended up being able to finally, after over a year, get a new personal best on the log press. So those things were really the key for me to actually being able to log press more than what I could for almost 2 years. It was a very long time before I figured this out, mostly just due to the log not being in a competition and not necessarily being needed to prepare for a big max attempt, but it felt good nonetheless. Now my deadlift has hit an all-time best, my log has hit an all-time best, but there's a third lift that for a long time I wasn't sure if I was ever going to get the chance to actually push as hard as I want to. And that lift is the squat. What happened for me on the squat is a long time ago, back in 2022, I believe, maybe even 2023, something like that, I squatted 405 pounds for one. My best lift ever, my best squat ever for a very long time. But I was afraid at that point in my life to video any of my lifts, so I don't have it on video. And comparing it to videos I have from the same time, I'm fairly certain it wasn't to depth, so I personally would not have counted it as my best. And recently I've been talking to my coach about the fact that I really wanted to hit a new all-time squat PR to be able to solidify that across the board I'm the strongest that I've ever been. And this 410-pound squat was exactly that lift. So really not much to say about technique here. This one was more of just a personal victory that I had been waiting for a really long time. Some of the things that I've been working on are making sure that I'm setting my hips back as I go down rather than treating it like a front squat where you're keeping everything forward, which really wouldn't be a problem necessarily, but it's kind of, you want to be able to get more weight, so you're going to set your hips back a little bit as you come down, even in a high bar squat. Yeah, this one just really straightforward, leg power and keeping my core tight. Since it's 5 pounds over that mark that I hit before, I personally am counting this now as my personal best ever in the squat, which then officially means that across the board, I'm the strongest that I've ever been. And I'm excited to keep getting stronger, even as I lose a little bit more weight, get a little bit leaner. It's just been an incredibly enjoyable process so far. And that's all I have for you here in the film room. Thank you guys for watching. Alrighty, thank you for watching this far. If you made it this far into the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and go ahead and check out my Instagram, because all these lifts that I'm talking about here always get posted to Instagram first, just because it's a little bit quicker, a little bit easier. And thanks again for watching. Dude, get down. No, there's not enough room for you up here, bro. No, get down. No, get down. And so for that, we're gonna head on over to the film room and And so for that, let's go ahead and stop looking at me like that. I'm trying my best.